Well, breaking news on News 12 and News12.com. The mayor of Mount Vernon accepting a plea deal in his corruption case. It all means that Richard Thomas will not be facing any jail time. Let's get right to News 12's Ty Milburn in the city of White Plains. And hey, Ty, this all comes as Thomas's corruption trial was just about to begin.
Lisa, a truly stunning day in the courtroom. This was something that nobody saw. We were all here for jury selection. Instead, Mayor Thomas shocked everybody by pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanors. Now, he was facing 6 felony counts. Instead, he pleaded guilty to attempted grand larceny and filing a false instrument. Now, in exchange for that plea deal, Thomas gets no jail time. He is forced to resign, but he has to do so by September 30th, and he also must pay back $13,000 in restitution. Now, the courtroom was packed today with Thomas loyalists, and I think they all were stunned by the mayor's guilty plea, mainly because for the last year, he's been saying that he's completely innocent of the charges, even calling the charges bogus. Now, after the court hearing, he went over to the Board of Elections where he talked about why he took this plea deal.
I just want to make it clear, had I not had children, had I not had a real future to lose, I would have loved my day in court, a fair day in court.
And also, outside of the Board of Elections, the mayor conceded his election from 2 weeks ago, mainly in part because under this plea deal, he can no longer seek political office for another year. So he conceded after already telling the judge that he's agreeing to not seek office for another year. Again, this was an outcome that nobody saw happening today. Back to you, Lisa.
Yeah, quite a lot of events happening in the city of Mount Vernon and White Plains as well. You know, the deal that we're talking about today does seem much better than previous deals that he was offered weeks ago. Do we know what prompted these changes?
That's a good question, and that's a question that a lot of folks are asking. About 6 weeks ago, he was offered a deal that had him pleading guilty to a felony and stepping down immediately. Then all of a sudden today, he gets this new deal with just 2 misdemeanors, and he doesn't have to step down for another couple of months. And the judge did not say why this new deal was negotiated. I talked to his lawyers outside of court. They would not say why. I think this is a question that a lot of folks, from political analysts to legal scholars, will be debating. What happened that led the mayor to get such a sweetheart deal the day his trial was supposed to start? Back to you, Lisa.
All right, Ty, thank you so much for that. And our Team 12 coverage does continue now with News 12's Michelle Brown. She has details on what's next at City Hall. Michelle.
Well, Lisa, the stunning news of Mayor Thomas's plea deal is what everyone is talking about here in Mount Vernon today. As we've reported, with the mayor stepping down on September 30th, current City Council President Andre Wallace will become the interim mayor. Now, Wallace lost his bid to become the Democratic mayoral nominee 2 weeks ago in the primary election. Former City Planning Commissioner Sean Patterson Howard won that election, beating Thomas by just over 200 votes. Now, Thomas initially challenged the results, claiming the election was rigged. But as we just heard, he went over to the Board of Elections today and finally conceded. We caught up with Sean Patterson Howard outside City Hall today to get her reaction to Mayor Thomas's plea deal. We also heard from a resident.
But we still have a general election in November. I still have a conservative and a Republican candidate that I have to run against. And until then, you know, the government will have to move forward with the work of the people. And hopefully we can begin to focus again on the work of Mount Vernon.
I'm just happy that he took the right way in telling the truth. You know, you have to own up to what you do and just hope that in the future the people will gain your trust again, and whatever you do. People make mistakes. People make mistakes. If nobody's perfect.
Now, we reached out to Andre Wallace. So far, we have not heard back. He is registered to run on the Republican line in the general election in November. No word yet if he still plans on doing that. Lisa.
Mount Vernon's embattled mayor just forced out of office by the city council after pleading guilty in his corruption case earlier this week. City Council President Andre Wallace immediately sworn in as interim mayor. Nightside's Lisa Reyes covering the story for us. She's in Mount Vernon with more on this very surprising development. And Lisa, the plea deal had Mayor Thomas staying in office till the end of September. What happened here?
Well,
Well, Scott, this may have come off as a surprise, but the city council voted unanimously on this legislation. This is a copy of it, and they say, according to the city charter, they have every right to enforce it. Here's how it breaks down. When Mayor Thomas pled guilty on Monday to 2 misdemeanors, council members say the admission, according to the charter, requires him to immediately step down, even though the plea deal from the state attorney general's office gives him until September 30th. Tonight, this legislation calling on the city controller to stop Thomas's salary and benefits. Council members then swearing in council president as their interim mayor, Andre Wallace, who is running in November to permanently hold the position. And despite losing the primary, the Democrat will be running on the Republican line. We heard from him a short time ago. Take a listen.
It's not going to be any one person that can dig us out of this. It's going to take a whole team. It's going to take a collaborative effort of everybody working together. The healing has to start. You know, we need to focus on the race is over. All of that stuff is done. We need to start to bring our community together and start to work together.
And we did reach out to Mayor Thomas, who sent us this statement calling the council's actions an illegal coup d'etat, adding it's an organized effort to undermine democracy in Mount Vernon and hide the truth about the undocumented $95 million in loans by past administrations. He says these are the same people that won't vote for garbage trucks or toilet paper for seniors, yet they illegally anoint themselves as mayor. Thomas goes on to say, get ready for another waste of time and money on unnecessary litigation. Thomas's attorney says Mayor Richard Thomas will be reporting to work tomorrow. Meantime, when that 24-hour deadline is up, Andre Wallace says he will be coming here on Friday, ready to leave the city. That is the very latest from Mount Vernon. Lisa Reyes, News 12.
2 is better than 1, but is that the case with mayors and police commissioners? The latest edition in Mount Vernon. Good evening, everyone. I'm Scott McGee.
I'm Macy Egland. More shakeup and confusion in Mount Vernon. It's been almost a week since Andre Wallace was sworn in as mayor, making it appear there are 2 mayors.
And now there are 2 police commissioners. News 12's Ty Milburn has more on the ongoing crisis at City Hall.
I, Sean Harris, and will faithfully discharge my duties
as Commissioner of Public Safety.
as the Commissioner of Public Safety.
In his first major move as acting mayor, Andre Wallace reappointed former Police Commissioner Sean Harris to his old job.
So my whole life I've dedicated to serving, and I have no problem with continuing to do that.
Harris was sworn in today in the clerk's office months after he was fired by Mayor Richard Thomas after Harris abruptly terminated Deputy Police Commissioner Joseph Spezio, a close ally of Thomas. The problem is Mount Vernon appears to have 2 mayors and now 2 police commissioners. This controversial appointment comes less than a week after the city council voted to oust Thomas from office and swear in Wallace after Thomas pleaded guilty to 2 campaign finance-related misdemeanors and agreed to vacate his office at the end of September. Citing the charter, the council voted him out on Wednesday, and the city clerk and comptroller say they no longer recognizes Thomas's authority despite his insistence.
Bottom line is, I am the mayor of Mount Vernon.
For his part, Harris is going back to the police department that already has an acting commissioner, but he believes that he is on the right side of the law.
Everybody that takes the oath in the police department and as city employees, just as I did, and you heard, that I swear to uphold the city charter of the city of Mount Vernon. And until something or another authority tells me otherwise, we're obligated to uphold the city charter of the city of Mount Vernon.
And the apparent acting mayor, Andre Wallace, releasing a statement just minutes ago saying in part that Mr. Harris is a dedicated and professional public servant who will once again serve this city with distinction. That's the very latest from City Hall. Ty Milburn, News 12.
Tonight on News 12, on his first day on the job, Mount Vernon's new top cop in trouble with the law. Good evening, everyone. Very unusual situation. Yeah. I'm Scott McGee.
And I'm Macy Egland. Yeah, it was a rather interesting first day for Mount Vernon's new police commissioner after he was handcuffed by the very officers he was supposed to be in charge of.
But now, in the latest twist and turn, Sean Harris will soon be free again. News 12 Ty Milburn has more on these latest developments.
24 hours ago, former Police Commissioner Sean Harris was sworn in and reappointed to his old job by the apparent acting mayor, Andre Wallace. But this morning, when the supposed top cop came to work, he was promptly arrested by officers loyal to Mayor Richard Thomas for trespassing, and he sat in jail all day long.
They tried to storm the police department and got a rude awakening. The reality is he trespassed, and he should have not done that. He was warned.
This episode is the latest in now 2-week saga over who has control of City Hall. Is it Thomas or Wallace? Well, that depends on who you ask.
I'm mayor until I'm not, and that's not going to change unless something else happens.
What that something else is, no one knows, but Thomas insists his plea deal with the Attorney General keeps him in office until the end of September, and that any effort to oust him is being driven by dirty politics. The City Council tell a different story. They say when Thomas pleaded guilty to 2 campaign finance-related misdemeanors last week, the city charter mandated that he immediately vacate his position. The council then appointed Wallace as the acting mayor, but today the council disagreed with his decision to appoint Harris to the job as commissioner.
I'm not going to go back and forth with my colleagues or anybody else. I thought it was the right decision to make, and I made that decision at the time, and I'm going to stand by that decision.
Wallace insists his top priority right now is freeing the commissioner first.
My concern is just to make sure that Commissioner Harris is let go and that we move forward with the people's business.
While Harris spent most of his day tied up in the legal system, this time on the other side of the law, he got some welcome news at the end of the day. The district attorney for Westchester County says he will not be filing charges against Harris and recommended that the Mount Vernon Police Department set him free. That's the very latest from Mount Vernon. Ty Milburn, News 12.
Well, before conceding in the Democratic mayoral primary, Mount Vernon's embattled Mayor Richard Thomas filed a lawsuit claiming it was unfair because of problems with the vote.
Yeah, but now it appears the mayor is coming to grips with his loss to political newcomer Sean Patterson Howard. News 12's Samantha Crawford has more.
After a month of accusing the Westchester Board of Elections of voter suppression, Mayor Richard Thomas has withdrawn his complaint.
I decided let's move on.
That decision made in front of State Supreme Court Judge Lawrence Ecker Wednesday morning. Thomas tells News 12 while he still believes there are serious voting irregularities in the Democratic primary that should be looked into, at this time his decision to dismiss the case is best for Mount Vernon.
So you didn't decide to withdraw from this case because you thought the judge wouldn't rule in your favor?
The bottom line is it takes resources to, really run a case like this. And those resources are simply not available to me at this moment. And quite frankly, I don't think it's the best use of my time or the city's time.
Democratic Elections Commissioner Reginald Lafayette said from the beginning the board ran a fair election, even inviting the Thomas administration and the declared winner, Sean Patterson Howard, to sit in as they counted the final absentee and affidavit ballots.
We are confident that we ran a fair election. We could have went on if he didn't withdraw. Now that he's withdrawn, it's in the history book. It's over.
As part of his plea deal for admitting guilt to campaign finance charges, Thomas will leave office September 30th. Until then, he says he'll focus on creating an easy transition for the next sitting mayor. Council President Andre Wallace will take his place until the elected mayor steps in January 1st. In the newsroom, Samantha Crawford, News 12.
Trying to figure out who the mayor of Mount Vernon will be for quite some time. The judge has finally made a decision. News 12, Samantha Crawford has the very latest. Samantha.
All right, well, Andre Wallace is officially the acting mayor of Mount Vernon after the court urged Richard Thomas to drop his litigation against the city council for voting him out of office. Judge Lawrence Ecker said when Thomas pled guilty to 2 misdemeanors on July 8th, he immediately forfeited office according to the city charter. If Thomas would like to continue his suit, he can. But Judge Ecker made it clear he doesn't have a strong case and should instead look into finding a new source of income to support his family. Wallace says even if Thomas doesn't listen to the judge's recommendation, he has to leave City Hall.
As of now, he is continued to be a squatter, as we had identified that to be, and hopefully by the time we get back to City Hall, he had packed up his things and had left.
If Thomas does not leave, Wallace says the police will have to move him out. Thomas immediately left the courtroom following the ruling and did not provide us with any comment. That's the latest here in White Plains. Samantha Crawford, News 12.
Just when you think all of the dysfunction at Mount Vernon City Hall could not get any worse, well, turns out it can, and today it did.
Turn off your mic.
One day into his official tenure as acting mayor of Mount Vernon, the city council abruptly fired Andre Wallace.
So by this action, this council affirms to the public that our government will put the people first.
Citing official misconduct and an unprecedented move, city council members voted 4-1 to remove him from his interim position and install city council member Lisa Copeland as the new city council president and acting mayor. This set off a tense exchange between Wallace and President Pro Tem Janice Duarte.
You are acting mayor through this body, and that is why you are sitting in that seat, because you still are a councilman.
Is to happen. We will be sending the wrong message.
You can call me Mayor Wallace. Okay, things has not changed. Right now, the council has come up with their own theory, which is incorrect.
This latest incident caps off a chaotic 3-week power struggle in the city between the city council and former Mayor Richard Thomas about who was in control. He officially resigned today, and the council voted to give him a $35,000 severance package in exchange for him dropping his lawsuits against the city. Reginald Lafayette, the Democratic head of the County Board of Elections, says the council was wrong to pay off Thomas and for firing Wallace, which he believes is illegal.
What bothers me about it, it looks like an awkward grasp for power.
So as the hastily scheduled special meeting wrapped up, it was still unclear who's running things. Lisa Copeland insists it's her. So you are the acting mayor?
If city council president and the mayor's office is vacated, we just read his resignation, right? And the council just voted to make me council president.
And Andre Wallace believes it's him. And at this point, it is simply not clear who's in charge or how this will end. Wallace insists he's going to go about doing the city's business. City council members insist that he is nothing more than a council and does not have control of the city's finances. That is the very latest from Mount Vernon. Ty Milburn, News 12.
Welcome back. This week, Mount Vernon lawmakers voted the city's acting mayor, Andre Wallace, out of office. But was the city council's decision a legal one? News host Samantha Crawford spoke one-on-one with the city's new acting mayor, Lisa Copeland, in her first television interview.
When Mount Vernon City Hall opens Monday morning, there will be a new acting mayor in charge.
I certainly appreciate their confidence in me moving forward with the depth of experience that I've had with the city.
On Friday, the Mount Vernon City Council voted to have Lisa Copeland replace Andre Wallace as City Council President and acting mayor. Copeland tells News 12 Wallace appointed a new police commissioner without the council's input and issued a bid package for remediation of Memorial Field without the council's vote. Copeland said such behavior would only hurt the city.
My concern are the people here, and to make sure that our government rules smoothly and the people get the services that they pay for with their taxes.
But the big question people had was it legal for the council to demote Wallace? According to the city's charter, the city council can be the judge of the election, returns, and qualifications of its members and elect a president of the city council. Copeland says she understands why residents may be concerned, as it has been no easy day in City Hall recently. But she is confident the transition to a new mayor come January should run smoothly.
I want them to know that we're going to have a government that works good for them. It works better for them.
For News 12, I'm Samantha Crawford.
Well, Andre Wallace will still be serving on the council, but no longer as president. He'll now just be a councilman. We have reached out to Wallace for comment, but so far we have not heard back.
Now to the crisis at City Hall in Mount Vernon, where there are more questions than answers as to who is running the city after the city council decided to axe acting mayor Andre Wallace. News 12, Samantha Crawford joins us now from Mount Vernon with more. Samantha.
Yeah, the question of who the acting mayor of Mount Vernon is still up for debate, but hopefully we'll know later today. The council has been in a meeting behind closed doors all day long, we're told, working on a resolution. We weren't provided with any details other than that, but as we previously reported, Andre Wallace was officially deemed the acting mayor of Mount Vernon last week when State Supreme Court Judge Lawrence Ecker ruled this charter gave the city council the power to expel Richard Thomas as mayor following his guilty plea to 2 misdemeanors. Then, less than 2 days later, the council voted 4-1 to demote Wallace to city councilman. They say for making decisions without the council's input, and then voted to promote Lisa Copeland to president and acting mayor. The city's new corporation counsel, Lauren Razor, says legally Wallace is the acting mayor, that the council cannot vote in a new president whenever they want.
Absolutely not. That's absolutely not within the charter. There's a certain period of time, I don't have the charter in front of me, one time a year that they are supposed to vote. That time is over.
However, Councilman Janice Duarte said she believes Copeland is the acting mayor. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this unfolds. That's the latest here in Mount Vernon. Samantha Crawford, News 12.
Now to the crisis in City Hall, and it appears at least one of the issues creating that crisis may finally be solved. The judge bringing some clarity to an important question. Who is the mayor of Mount Vernon? News 12's Ty Milburn in Mount Vernon right now with that answer. Ty.
Hey, Scott, the last month or so has been an insane time in Mount Vernon politics because you had not one, not two, but 3 different people claiming to be mayor. Today, there is only one. His name, Andre Wallace. For more than a month, there's been a big debate over who the mayor of Mount Vernon is. Was it Richard Thomas, Andre Wallace, or Lisa Copeland? Well, today, a state Supreme Court judge settled it, naming Wallace the mayor until the end of the year.
Mr. Wallace, you got a job ahead of you. You got 4.5 months to try to get the city back to being one individual, pushing in the same direction at all time.
The judge says when Richard Thomas took a plea deal on July 8th in his criminal campaign finance case, he vacated his position, and Wallace, city council president at the time, assumed the job. 2 weeks ago, the city council tried to remove Wallace and appoint Lisa Copeland to the job of mayor. The judge called that decision a no-go. Outside court, Wallace says he always knew he had the law on his side.
I'm just hoping that we could just get back and the healing could begin and we can move the city forward. It's time to get back to work.
This decision today ends a chaotic 5 weeks in the city where no one knew who was calling the shots or who to report to. City Council President Lisa Copeland says the council accepts the judge's position and is now prepared to move forward.
We all have to work together to make our city better, and that's what we'll do.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Mayor Wallace says over the next 4.5 months, his top priorities will be cleaning up some of the corruption caused by former Mayor Richard Thomas, and he admits he's going to need the council to help him do so. That's the very latest from White Plains. Ty Milburn, News 12. Back to you, Scott.